Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here and I'm back for some more of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed for the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, PC Steam, Nintendo Wii U, and Nintendo 3DS. So last time we actually did fully completely done with Frozen Valley, and even though despite the fact that one of my least favorite tracks in the game so far will have to be Graffiti City, because I just really cannot stand that level so much, because even I know it just makes it incredibly difficult and just sometimes feels a bit too unfair to play through. So even that, and also in addition to that though, we also managed to unlock Shadow the Hedgehog, aka the Ultimate Life Form. And, yeah, that's about it, obviously. So today for this episode is the fact that we're going to be moving on into a brand new area of the game by the forms of, Scorching Skies. And basically, the entire impression of this particular level is that, much like how it does it in the forms of Frozen Valley, is that this world also contains two unlockable characters, which we'll hopefully will get them at some point. But even then, we'll see what happens there until we actually get into those events themselves. So, starting things off, is the forms of how the fact that we're going on to the track that's based off from Golden Axe, which, you know, once again, is a race event. And once again, I'm going to be going for a medium difficulty just because I just want to take myself so easier with this. So even then, let's get started. So I've heard about Golden Axe, but even I know that usually I've normally got all three of them, thanks to the forms of the Sega Mega Drive Ultimate Collection for the Xbox 360, because thank goodness it actually contains those. And even then, though, I might as well able to actually try those out. I've heard that Golden Axe was supposed to be a beat-em-up type of gameplay style, which even I know that might be sounds really cool. Somewhat similar to Streets of Rage trilogy. Also, I've got those three by the forms of, you know, Sega Mega Drive Ultimate Collection. That's the thing you should definitely recommend, by the way, and especially noticeable by the forms of the upcoming release of Sega Mega Drive Classics in the forms of the PlayStation 4 and I'm assuming Xbox One as well, and also PC Steam version. Well, granted though, PC already got a hell of a lot more Mega Drive versions already though, which even I know that might be sounds way too much for PC owners. Especially noticeable, they've already been releasing Sega Mega Drive Classics in the forms of I would classify for saying 5 volumes. So yeah, it's basically like how it does in the forms of the PlayStation compilation games, but in forms of Namco Museum, or Namco Museum, sorry, that usually contains every single Namco games, ranging from Pac-Man to Galaga, and especially Dig Dug, and all the other jazz. So yeah, it's basically kind of like how it does it from the forms of the PC versions already had loads of Mega Drive compilations every now and then, which even though that might be sounds a little bit more, well, too much for them. So anyways though, so here we go by the forms of this particular level right there. Whose idea is able to actually race on a boat in a hot lava? That can get a lot of death situation right there, but I guess that makes the video game logic aside from that. Look, I just somehow barely got splashed into the lava, and then as a result, he doesn't die, which is kind of awfully graphic looking. Even imagine if that was about to be happening. For those of you who might have missed it already, that joke I usually borrowed that by the forms of Sonic Shorts Volume 8. That normally how the fact that originally that Sonic was supposed to be able to actually race in this particular level, and what happens is though is that I just usually said whose idea is able to race in hot lava, even though it kind of does the exact same ways of how it does in the forms of Hot Top Volcano in Diddy Kong Racing, whenever you use the hovercraft, and then you would able to actually still survive on the actual hovercraft. And I was like, huh, video game logic then, huh? So anyways though, today was actually in forms of, as you expected, it's going to be the 23rd of April. Not much else to talk for this point, because even though I'm assuming that we've almost at the halfway portion of the forms of World Tour itself, because even though after finishing World Tour, might as well able to tackle through Grand Prix mode, and especially noticeable by the forms of the extra mode, or in this case the extra stuff of how this game offers to be, more accurately, the Outrun Bay track, but in forms of if you have actually access to the DLC stuff, in forms of, well, simply just download it up, or simply pick up the limited edition. Unfortunately, it might be too late for now to get the limited editions every now and then, because I can assuming enough most of the people already redeemed the codes already, so even though that, well, as far as I'm aware for that kinds of stuff, but even though again, luckily you can now able to actually get the Metal Sonic and the Outrun Bay track in the forms of the PlayStation Store, so even though no need to able to get ourselves the limited editions, or even though sometimes it costs a little bit of an extra money, but as long as I'll be fine with that, assuming that I can get the PlayStation 3 version at some point, and even PlayStation Vita version of this game as well. That way, that will give me 5 versions of this game. I know it sounds a bit redundant, but to be honest, I was a really big fan of Sonic after all, which even though that might be sounds too much for some comfort factor, but anyway. Oh god, too many things to get bashed into something. So yeah, this is what the game starts to get ridiculously difficult, especially with, you know, the cheap AI, or in this case, a really unfair AI. Like, for instance, Metal Sonic was actually in first, and there's no way I can catch up to him, most notably because of how the fact that I think he probably gets the job done, and he always just noticed the track itself, obviously. So even though he has no right to home about, so if he's able to actually not to fail for these kinds of tracks like that. So that's a little bit unfair for me though, but anyways, let's go and get ourselves Transform Boost to get ourselves Boost going. I'll go soon, this might actually be one of the next emphasis on going second place in any of the racetracks, and screw you. Screw you, stunt fail announcer. Jeez. I don't know about you, but for this point folks, but even though no, this is one of those things that when we get to the racing sort of events, it just makes the game seems to get a little bit more ridiculously challenging as soon as we're able to actually come across into, oh, stupid chainsaw or axe. Alright, I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure Metal Sonic's gonna make it all the way to the very end, I'm presuming, because even though, sadly, if that's the case, then, well, there goes to another second place position, which is always kind of unfair for me, because it's so, oh, screw that wall. Yeah, because there's no way I can catch him up, and as a result, still second place. Although, I wasn't really a, well, I don't know about you, but anyway, I just really need to get first place in every other races in the future, especially the Grand Prix mode eventually. But if I came in second place in all of that, that means I have to be able to redo the entire session again, but even then, that's as far as I can tell with that. So anyway, but we still got some experience points. Okay, it says, Ada's Lair, so that's what this actual stage is named. And, yeah, that's what I can talk about for that point or another. But anyway, so we've done with the race event. And now we move on to the next event, which I'm assuming, we're probably going to be tackling through a traffic attack mission. And, basically suggestions from that is the fact that we're going back into, well, Panzer Dragoon stage, but in forms of Dragon Canyon. It's been a long time since we're actually coming back to this stage, ever since at the very beginning of the World Tour mode. And the character suggestion is in forms of beats, because obviously I'm going to go for the exact same order from unlockable characters departments, even though that, well, as long as I'm able to actually unlock even more playable characters in this game has to offer, then I would classify for something like that. So, let's get to it, but in forms of Traffic Attack, and in forms of, you know, Dragon Canyon. So, once again, I'm going to be doing it on medium mode, even though I would normally try to go for on hard mode, but maybe in a later time, or even just manage to able to do these difficulties on my own time just to do this off screen. So, yeah, that's all I can cover for anyway, so let's get this thing to it. Ah, Christ. Getting hit by this green car already. Even though there's not that much of a problem to be able to actually avoid those, well, a couple of exceptions being is the fact that they move all over the place with the yellow ones, and then also the green ones can always sometimes make me want to go for a squeeze gap. But, hey, at least we can able to actually get ourselves a, some time expansions and all that stuff, at least, as far as I'm aware. So, we got ourselves a glove so that I can defend myself from that little kinds of stuff. And, oh, boost. I definitely need boost for, just trying to able to catch up to the actual, waves. So, anyway, though, yeah, you know, there's not much else I can tell, besides I've, managed to able to actually get onto the Game Boy Advance version of Donkey Kong Country 1 already. I'm actually on the 3rd world at the moment, which even though it's doing so far so good. But I haven't really gone to the 100% completion about it, though, just yet, but I need to look up on a guide to see if how the fact that I can find any of the bonus areas of the game, because in order to actually get 100% any forms of Donkey Kong Country is that I'm going to assume you have to get, like, all the bonus areas, and probably also trying to able to get all the Kong letters, I'm assuming from that. But even then, I will never know until whenever we're able to actually, blue cars. Actually like the police cops, but even then, I wasn't really sure about my policy session or something like that. But anyway, time expanded. So yeah, it's been really hot around here today. Well, even then, that might be sounds illogical for you, some of you, but even then, oh god. Okay, at least we got ourselves one last wave to deal with here, and oh, did I make it? Oh yes, I made it. Whew. That was actually pretty close there, because if I managed to not make it in time, then I would be seriously gonna be, hopefully God be damned, to able to actually just not able to actually get failed on this. So there we go. That concludes our traffic attack, and we got ourselves the a sticker reward, which I'm considering this might be something to do with keep on grinding for more of those time expansions, which even I know that would be very good, all together in one. So, speaking of which, in the forms of the Donkey Kong Country 1 on the Game Boy Advance, which I'm currently playing at the moment on the Game Boy Advance, this might be the only time I've actually got myself the Game Boy Advance boxes in the forms of the Donkey Kong Country trilogy on the Game Boy Advance. Sure, it's strange, but even then, that's only because of how the fact that, well, I think that last time I actually got the Game Boy Advance boxed game by the forms of Sonic Battle for the Game Boy Advance. Well, I would technically say back in 2010, when I was at Cyprus in that time, and then obviously I've got myself Mario Tennis Power Tour, aka Mario Power Tennis in UK, for the Game Boy Advance, and even then I think that was the last time I actually got the boxed Game Boy Advance boxed game throughout, ever since last time. So yeah, it's been, I would say, almost 8 years since I actually last got myself my Game Boy Advance boxed copy, which even then, that's actually really a, well, better late than never I suppose, but even then it was about time. So yeah, anyway. So here we go folks, on to Rogue's Landing, much like how it does in the forms of the race events, but now we're going to be doing with Ring Race once again, but this time we're going to be playing as Amy Rose. And I believe after this event is done, then I'm pretty sure we're going to be unlocking a new playable character introduced in this particular franchise, among with Delicate Patrick, by the forms of, you know, the third-party character. And even then, though, this might be something to do with the based off from, you know, the Sega universe, which even then, though, since this stage is actually based off from, you know, Skies of Arcadia, which I'm pretty sure I was going to be familiar with what the next new playable character we're going to be bumping into. But even then, we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens there after we actually go and bypass those rings. Sometimes it takes a while though, but even then, it probably doesn't take about, like, I would classify for saying like 3 minutes or something like that. But even then, it's not that much of a big of a deal when it comes to this challenge alone. So anyway. Another thing I'd like to point out for this point, folks, is that how the fact that, well, recently King of the 74, oh no, not King of the 74, Cap King 74, sorry. I was really used to with how the fact that back in the old days, that you always called it, Stuart, King of the 74, but his name is now changed in the forms of, or his channel's name, in the forms of Cap King 74. Oh, 1 split second to able to finish it. If I did not make it in time, I'm gonna have to redo the entire mission again, which will be a bad thing, so... Seriously, what's up with Amy's eyelashes in this particular visual cube or something? Because it just looks completely invisible for that point, which even I know she does really need some makeup. But anyways though, that's it for the ring race. So, anyways, for the Cap King 74, that he's pretty much almost nearly towards the end or something like that. But in forms of the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild playthrough of his game. So even I know that he would able to actually go ahead and keep on exploring for more shrines and all that stuff and etc. So anyways, let's go ahead and just unlock a new character right there, Vice. And Vice, he's obviously based off from Skies of Arcadia. So that makes sense because of how the fact that that's how he's usually based off from. So there we go, we've now actually unlocked him. So what's the next event we're going to be doing? Let's go ahead and race in this particular level, but in forms of this one is based off from Nights into Dreams. Because I say that because of the actual visual style and stuff like that. And let's go ahead and use BD Joe for this one. So even I know that we could able to actually go ahead and keep on racing against with those opponents in just in no time. And much like before, we got to go for B class. I wish I was going to go for A class, but I'm trying to think of something that we'll be about to be getting to later on though. Because, and also, you know, the rubber banding AI can get sometimes really cheap at times, especially with cheap items in here and there, especially they really desperately want to catch up to you. But still, I can't deny by that. Alright, so in this particular stage, by the forms of this particular Nights into Dreams level, or in this case, this stage was originated called Dream Valley. Because at first I thought it was going to be Spring Valley, because we're going to be exploring through the Spring Valley at first. But then, every once in a while, we actually come across into the Nightmare Ruins, but in forms of some of these boss areas. Which even then, though, you can definitely tell why until when we actually get into the later portions of this stage. So, yeah, the majority of the entire stage is basically plane heavy, or in this case, flying based stage. Because obviously, we cannot drive on the ground though, because that just takes way too forever to actually get up there. And plus, not to mention, now how Elliot and Clarice, that enduring the likes of the original Nights into Dreams game on the Sega Saturn, and basically they can't able to, although they can walk on the ground, but the only way you can able to actually complete the stage normally is by simply controlling Knights. You can probably watch the our playthrough of Nights into Dreams back in during the likes of well, 2016. If you want to guys check that out, then by all means you can do that. And Blossom needs to still come back onto the sequel, but in forms of Nights in Journey of Dreams on Nintendo Wii. So hopefully she will able to actually finish that game up before we're able to actually tackle even more Let's Plays. Most notably more continuation of, you know, Kirby Marathon, and especially I need to get back into Kingdom Hearts Final Mix eventually. Because I still have no idea why I keep on delaying that particular playthrough at this point, because the thing is, it's probably because I need to get these, we need to get these Let's Plays done before we're able to actually go ahead and do some more continuation of some of these Marathon Let's Plays, but in forms of not just with Kirby, but also the Kingdom Hearts before the actual premise of Kingdom Hearts 3 will be about to be arriving until the forms of pursuing this year. So, speaking of which, new stuff on Kingdom Hearts 3 is the fact that they actually did have themselves a brand new look into the forms of a different design in the forms of Twilight Town, but also Heina Pence and OLEDs makes a return ever since Kingdom Hearts 2, and also they actually bring up a new minigame to the lineup, but in forms of, I'm assuming Classic Kingdom, which is actually based off from Game & Watch series, but in forms of, you know, the Game & Watch electronic LCD screen devices that normally back in the day you would able to get tons of games on the Game & Watch, like, you know, Donkey Kong, Oil Panic, and especially noticeable with Octopus and Fire, and I'm assuming Manhole, as far as I'm aware. But even then though, that's because I've already still got myself you know, Game & Watch Gallery 1 on a Game Boy, original Game Boy anyway. But even then though, that's as far as I can really tell for that pointers, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to see how that minigame turns out in the forms of, you know, in Kingdom Hearts 3, in the forms of Classic Kingdom, because, well, it does remind me of almost related to Game & Watch electronic LCD screen game, which is really cool. But even then, I still can't wait for that, so. And of course, it will be about that time until when it gets to the point until E3 this year. I'm really not 100% sure, because for some strange reason, Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, the game I just really did not like it the most, because it informs of this is one of my least favorite Kingdom Hearts games I've ever played, to be honest, because it just feels like a money waster, and plus it's all turn-based, and you can't actually walk around and just defeat them anymore, which is kind of stupid if you ask me. Because I kind of prefer whenever you're trying to walk around and then just trying to deal with the enemies and during the actual combat, which even though that makes it a little bit more of a sense to me. But why can I able to actually just walk around and then just try to able to defeat them and dodge them? Because there's no way I can dodge those stupid bosses for the most part in Kingdom Hearts Key. But normally that's mainly the case though, well specifically for Union Cross. Anyways though, so anyway, we have to dodge, oh crap. Ralph, get back over here. Anyway though, yeah, still looking forward to see how the fact that what these new stuff will actually becomes apparent in the forms of Kingdom Hearts 3. But even though, I really don't know how long this will take to able to actually complete the entirety, or in this case finish up the main game. But considering that it might actually will happen until this year at some point. But if not, until when the game starts to go delayed on 2019, then I would actually try to able to actually say right now, I'm pretty sure Union Cross doesn't want to let Kingdom Hearts 3 to be released at some point, because First off is that, well, I've already mentioned about this before. Let's get into the another negative thing is the fact that, well, the thing is, with these the actual main story quests, is that it just feels really overstayed and welcome. Like, it just felt really overstayed and welcome. Like, even then, if you think that the game will about to be over until when it gets to the point until, like, let's just say about 900 or something like that. But it wasn't, because it has to go forever until when I can't believe it. Imagine if it goes to like 1000 or more than that. Well, I just want to actually just trying to desperately want to get Kingdom Hearts 3 to make my mood a little bit better. Because as far as I'm aware, because you know, Kingdom Hearts 3's you know, build-up engine runs the exact same engine as 0.2 Birth by Sleep, the fragile or the fractal passage in the forms of, you know, Birth by Sleep 0.2. But, you know, when you can get this on the forms of, you know, 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue compilation. But that's as far as I can really tell for that part. So there we go. Now we've pretty much done through racing through Dream Valley, because, you know, that's the course I've already mentioned about this. That's what the actual name of this stage looks like. So anyways, now let's move on to the next events by the forms of Drift Challenge. And, actually, before I get to Drift Challenge, let's go ahead and deal with... Actually, let's go ahead and do the Drift Challenge, shall we? So even though I just want to get this challenge finished before we're able to actually move on to the next race. And I won't go for Feist until... Yeah, let's go for Feist now, because even though that would like to show him off, so... Yeah, he's pretty cool looking, especially noticeable that he was actually now a newcomer introduced in the forms of the Sonic Racing games. Well, to be more specifically, Sonic and Sega Racing series. Well, usually only has like 2 releases on that so far, but anyways. Here we go, onto this stage, and does this stage look familiar to you? Because we have ourselves a yet another returning stage, but in forms of, you know, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, but now it's Sunshine Tour. Which, you know, is based off from the Chow Cup, or else in the forms of Champion Downtown, which is based off from, you know, Graffiti Cup, and also Roulette Road, based off from Chow Cup, on the forms of the first game. And there's also a final one in here and there as well, which I kind of wish... Well, I'll get into more details on that later, but for now, let's go ahead and just do some drifting, and be sure to pass for all that stuff. We've already done these challenges like this before, in the forms of Champion Downtown, from before. But even then, that's not much to anything else to be said and done. It feels like the visuals in this particular stage looks damn near identical to how it does in the forms of the Xbox 360 or the PlayStation 3 counterparts. But that's just how I think it is when it comes to this stage in particular. So, anyways, now let's go ahead and explore this last drift section. And hopefully once we're done with all that, then we're pretty much done with this challenge. I could potentially try to do this on hard mode in a later time, or in this case in my own off-screen time, so just in case I would able to actually go ahead and grind for some more stars. Well, specifically when we get to the later portion of this game, so even though that's far as I want to establish that, then booyah, there you go. And we got ourselves our next sticker right there, Star Fantasy, and we've actually unlocked Sunshine Tour, which, you know, the returning course, but in forms of the first game is handling. So, yeah, you get the idea. Alrighty then, so now we've done with that, and I don't know what the next challenge is going to be next. I'm assuming I might actually start to tackle through the next challenge, which is by the forms of the race, in the forms of Century Falls. So even though we've now unlocked 2 alternate pathways we can go to, I don't think we can actually unlock this just yet, unless if we actually get even more stars, as I mentioned earlier. So let's go ahead and go down here, to able to actually, you know, do Century Falls as far as the actual medium B class. And let's go ahead and select Mimi again. I would normally try to go through, trying to able to level up these characters, but even then I'll have to do that sometime or another, because even though sometimes the processing when it comes to, you know, trying to able to level up the experience points when it comes to the rest of the characters might take a little bit, while, but even then I'm looking able to actually, deal with it, I suppose. So anyways, here we go. With the forms of Century Falls, because even though that, well, we've already been into this place before ever since Ring Race, but now we can do a proper race this time. So here we go. Man, I really love the music actually. Speaking of Sky Century theme, or in this case it's Sky Century music, this is by far the best looking music in the forms of, or the best music in the entirety of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, and especially noticeable with the the Sonic Generations, Modern Sonic, and even Classic Sonic Remixed version, because it's such a really joy to listen to. Especially noticeable with the DJ remixed version of this, or the techno version of that particular Sky Century theme music or something like that. But that's just how I think it is. So anyway. Now, you know how the fact that when originally Century Force was supposed to be going to be able to be a flying type stage, but it turns out there's going to be not only the flying segments, as far as you might know, but I believe also there's going to be some road sections here and there as well, which even though you can definitely tell why what I'm talking about. Oh, I did not notice this little whole outcode wasn't there this time around though. I think it's probably because I always get used to with the forms of the ring race syndrome basically. So even now, let's go ahead and try to catch things up a little bit. Now I'm hoping I won't get second place all the time though, because it just gets pretty ridiculous, even especially if you want to do this on hard, or even especially noticeable with the unlockable difficulty, which I'm not going to get into that point until we get to later. It looks like 2 of those third-party characters was actually on the top lead at the moment, which are, well, Delicate Patrick in the forms of second place, and Ralph, he was in, well, what the? How the hell happened there? I was expecting from Sonic 06. Christ. I did not expect it to see that coming, hunt I? And this is a part that normally that Modern Sonic usually drives, in this case, just run down for that part, and then he able to actually grind onto rails, because that's the part I always remember the most. But anyways though, I just cannot believe my momentum gets screwed over. I think it's probably because I was pretty lacking with speed or something like that. Perhaps it might be because of that though, but anyway. Alright, it's time to show off that Delicate Patrick his her lesson. Well, not his, but hers, as far as I might say so. Alright, so let's go all the way back up. And we can hopefully we'll try to able to actually catch up to Ralph at one point or another. But even that's as far as I can tell from that point, as far as what speculations will go. Alright, there we go. And since we've still got some snowballs, well, we've only got 1 snowball left. I'm really hoping I can able to get myself my all-star move. But of course the items themselves are pretty much randomized for the most part though, so that it would able to actually clarify to see what does it contain. Oh, speaking of which, you guys has an all-star. How about that then? So yeah, with Mimi's all-star, it's basically a like a pedal shockwave ability, which it feels exactly like almost identical to how it does in the forms of the all-star ability, but in forms of Shadow's all-star. Speaking of the all-star move, is that how the fact that originally this game was supposed to have somewhat of a returning all-star abilities, well, visual cue or something ever since during the likes of the first game, but of course this game does attempt to be becoming a little bit lacking when it comes to the actual style of the forms of the all-star moves themselves, but that's only because of how the fact that, well, they're just trying to make it as a shockwave move instead, for not only just with Mimi or Shadow, but also the others as well, I think, because even then, I just wish that they actually had something more to it than that. Oh, I don't want to be in second place again, come on. Oh, son of a...
Way to go! Second place!
I'm tired of second place. I'm tired of second place. I'm tired of this. 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 And I will give you some credit for you, Ralph. But even though you still look awesome even to this day. But it's just like I'm just getting tired of getting second place in every single races. I mean, that just gets pretty ridiculous and pretty underwhelming at the same time too for me though, because Jesus Christ, how do I begin with that? Anyway though, enough about that, and hopefully we're not going to get into those other races anytime soon, quite frankly, I know. But anyways, let's get this thing moving, but in forms of, since we got enough stars to able to actually unlock the next gate, and we should able to unlock the new type of mission, but in forms of pursuit. Actually, before I do that, since I've actually got 42 or more stars, this means I can now finally unlock the console mods, and this only belongs to Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Dr. Eggman, and forms of Alex Kidd. Speaking of Dr. Eggman, I don't think we can actually come across into him before we're able to actually get our unlockable conditions to able to actually, you know, unlock Dr. Eggman. So, for now on though, let's go ahead and tackle through the new type of mission, and now the forms of pursuit. Pursuit means is basically we need to deal with a destruction sequence right there. Specifically, trying to able to destroy that particular tank. And if you do that, then your mission is fully accomplished. And that's all you have to really do right there. So the forms of how the fact, there are 3 different types of the actual tanks themselves, which are, well, the conduct tank, and especially notable with the enforcer tank, and even the victim tank. But it forms of depends on what difficulties you select. So basically, it's kind of like how it does in the forms of the battle race, except, well, obviously we're gonna have to deal with just the tank itself this time instead of like just the actual races themselves. So, oh crap, that's not a good start. Well, thankfully though, there are some healths along the way, so that even then, if you want to pick up some health, be sure to grab some, because if you keep on getting hit by the actual tanks projectiles, even especially noticeable with these little green looking items that he's always laying about, then you would able to actually just try to able to dodge his attacks just fine. I would normally try to go this on hard mode, but obviously I might as well able to do this off screen, so just in case of how the fact that if I manage to able to actually get onto the at certain points throughout in this game, that I would able to actually grind for some more stars. Oh, this is what gets things can get pretty tricky. It's the fact that, well, every time whenever you're trying to decrease one of the tank's health, then his attacks might actually become very, very differently. To be honest with you guys, this pursuit type of missions almost exactly reminds me of the forms of the Master Core segments in the forms of Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS and Nintendo Wii U final boss battle, including the likes of the Master Fortress in the forms of the Wii U version only. Because of that, as a result of that tradition, that's only because of the fact that you're going to be doing for these multitude of phases. Like the forms of, well, the first phase, all he does is he just drops these little green looking obstacles and then here and there, and especially noticeable in the second section that he always shoots out yellow missiles at you. And the third and final phase is that he actually drops out purple walls, which even though you don't want to touch them because you'll also lose your health. And speaking of health, you know how the fact that there are plenty of hearts to able to pick up every time when you actually go around the track, or around the course I should say. Well, if you manage to lose all of your health, then your mission will be entirely failure. So even though that's as far as I can say with that. So anyways though, yeah, I guess that's all I can say about this. So, I'm afraid we're gonna have to end things off here at this point, folks. So yeah, join me next time, but let's play Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, sorry, for the, you know, 6 multiple platforms. It's the fact that we're going to be hopefully finishing up with the forms of Scorching Skies. And first off, let's unlock this Dreamcast console mod, and this only belongs to Jet, oh, in this case, no, not Jet, Beat, Ooh La La, Shadow the Hedgehog, because of Sonic Adventure 2, Vice, and Pudding, and, I don't know what's that girl with the actual, cool looking one, but it forms up also from Jet Set Radio was actually named, but I'll see what happens there. So anyways though, join me next time on Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. It's the fact that we're hopefully finishing up with the Scorching Skies, with the forms of, well, seasonal shrines, in the forms of Shinobi Track in Spirit, or Sprint. So see you guys next time. Later, fellas.